My Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, 12 tribes of Israel scattered all over the earth, let me take this moment to say Shabbat Shalom. And we thank Yahuwah that he has given us this day. Praise his name. You know, my brothers and sisters, our Shabbat start from Friday at the sundown and continue to Saturday, our Shabbat, at sundown. So we want to thank him for the opportunity that he has given us to have that desire to celebrate the Shabbat. And so for the Shabbat meditation, we want to continue. Last Shabbat, we started talking about be wise, and we want to continue this Shabbat and be wise for our meditation, okay? So, if you remember the story, my brothers and sisters, how, you know, right around 338, somewhere in that time, BCE, we have the seduced empire, which, you know, brought in the Hellenistic teaching. And we could see how our Hebrew Israelite African people decided that they're going to listen to few wicked men, few wicked leaders among them, and decide that they're going to go join up with the Hellenistic teaching and culture, telling them, oh, things been bad with us. We have not, you know, been doing good, because since the day we left them, and nothing but sorrow. And the people, they knew that they were suffering from this Hellenistic teaching and stuff that was coming in. But it did not get to them as deeply as it did after they joined up with them, joined up with the heathen. And my brothers and my sisters, as you could see, it caused them the worship to Yahuwah. They could not circumcise the children or no one anywhere. And all of the things that they used to do, the freedom is taken away. My brother, on the Epiphany, my brothers and my sisters. And my brothers and my sisters, let me say this, that they did the wrong thing and they suffered death. The last straw before everything finalized with the Epiphany is that it sent the people into Jerusalem. Speak, they came to Jerusalem with great multitude, my brothers and sisters, and they speak nice things, peaceable things to them, all full of deceit, my brothers and sisters. And when they had given them the credence, he fell suddenly upon the city. And my brothers and sisters, the people suffered because he smote the city, and they suffered very sore, destroyed much people of Israel. When he had taken the spoils of the city, he set the city on fire. And then he pulled down the houses and walls there on every side. But the women and children, he took them captive. And he possessed the cattle. And then he built them the city of David with great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and he made it strong. He made it a stronghold for them. And they put there, listen to this, they put in the city that they built. You wonder why Jerusalem to this day is filled with Gentile people? To this day. And some of those same Gentile people are what we're calling Jews today. Because they join up, Hellenistic Jews. They join up with them. And they put in a sinful nation wicked men and fortify themselves in that city. They store in it also with armor and with victuals, and they, when they gathered, together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so, my brothers and my sisters, they became a sore snare. When the Hebrew African people look around in a city, all they can see is the hand of the patronage. All they can see is a work, the Hellenistic rule. All they can see, the strangers, the foreigners, the heathens, everywhere. They took over. They're the rulers. They are the upper class. Because it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. They were evil people, and they came over and they took, because they were invited. They were invited, my brothers and my sisters. The reason why they were able to go in and capture Israel is because of the introduction that was made to them. Thus, they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. They defiled the sanctuary, in so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. People were running for their lives because the city was made an habitation of strangers and become, strange to those that were born there. Is this the place I was born? This little country in Northeast Africa, strangers, the heathen, no more black rule. And they go in there, it will be mostly black people. Now you can hardly find them because they were running for their lives. And the children, all the people, they left. They were running for their lives. The sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts, you remember they had to keep the feast days and all that? All that was gone. They said, you cannot do it anymore. turned into mourning, the Sabbath into a reproach, my brothers and sisters. Her honor into contempt, as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, my brothers and my sisters, the king Antiochus Epiphanes, he wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. That means the Hebrew, African, Israelite people could not practice the feast day, it was not a culture of themselves anymore. They have become a part of the Hellenistic rule, the Greek rule. They took out the language, the Hebrew language. There's some Aramaic spoken there. They took all of that out and then replaced it with Greek. And the people, if they want to survive, they have to learn to speak Greek. And everyone should leave his law, the law of Yahuwah. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Not the commandment of Yahuwah anymore, the commandment of the king. Yeah, and so many also, my brothers and sisters of Israel, many of the Israelites people, the African Israelite people, consented to his religion. So they got so out of place that now they agree to serve the Greek religion, sacrifice to idols, profane the Sabbath. The king had sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, and that they should follow the strange laws of the land. My brothers, my sisters, and they forbid the burnt offering. They couldn't burn any more offering. And the sacrifices and the drink offering and, in the temple, all of that was cut out. And that they should profane the Sabbath and the festival days. All the days that Yahuwah gave to our ancestors, they have to forget them. They forget the holy days. They pollute the sanctuary. They polluted the people. And they set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice of swine fleshes, and clean beasts. All that they set up and was offering on the altar. They should leave their children uncircumcised. That means they couldn't circumcise their children. And it will make their souls abominable with all manner of unclean things and profanations. To the end that I might forget the law and change all the ordinance. Yes, my brothers and my sisters. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. The self-same man, my brothers and sisters, he wrote to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people. So now we have a whole bunch of people in there ruling. You remember when they were taken into captivity first, way back, like 600 years later, earlier. Remember? When they were taken into Assyria, they sent strangers in to rule over them, to overseers over them. And the same thing happened in the southern kingdom. They sent strangers to rule over them. So one point it was what they call the Safara. That's Spain, people from Spain, in that region, and Morocco and those places were ruling over them. And then now the Greek is ruling over them, become overseers over the people, and commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Then, my brothers and my sisters, many of the people were gathered unto them, and to wit everyone that forsook the law. And so they committed evil in the land. They drove the Israelites into secret places, even whatsoever they could flee, wherever they could go, my brothers and sisters, for safety, for refuge. That's where they went. And so in the 15th day of the month of Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. And they built idols, altars throughout the cities of Judah. On every side, anywhere you go, you're going to see the Greek, the Hellenistic people, setting up all of their culture, what they believe, their idols and worship, and the African Hebrew people, the Israelites, have to join in and burn incense at the door of their houses and in the streets, and they had to rent in pieces the books of the law which they found. Anything they found that had to do with YAHUAH'S rule and over Israel, the book of the laws, my brothers and sisters, any writing, they burn them with fire. Burn them with fire. And whosoever was found with any book of the Testament, that means all the people, like if they could find the books of the Maccabees and all of the writing that was taking place in those times. These are times, my brothers and sisters, they refer to as the silent years. 400 years of silence. Let me tell you something where they said, Yahuwah, you see this here? Activities were being done. But the people, because of the rebellion to Yahuwah, they were facing all of this. So they were burning all the books of the law, anything they find, my brothers and my sisters, that has to do with the Hebrew, African, Israelite culture. They were destroying them. They were burning them. Burning them. From that time up till now. That's why you wonder how come we don't know our history? Because things that will tell us about who we are during the Hellenistic period, they were being destroyed. They were being destroyed. He said, any book, anything, or if any committed to the law, the king commanded that they should be put to death. Yes, my brothers and my sisters. Thus did they, by the authority unto Israelites, by the authority of the king unto the Israelites. And said, every month, as many as were found in the cities, they were searching for them. They my brothers and my sisters, they want to change the whole culture. Nothing. All they want to establish was the Hellenistic culture. 520 days after, the 520th day, that is the 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice. So, and they sacrifice upon the altar. And they sacrifice the idol altar, which was upon the altar. That means they put an idol altar upon the altar that they sacrifice to Yahweh. They put an idol altar upon that. Upon the altar of Yahweh. They put an idol altar upon that. You can't burn incense as sacrifice to Yahweh. You got to burn it to their God. So at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women. They were not only killing men, they were putting to death women that caused their children to be circumcised. And they hung the children, the infant. My brothers, they talk about the Spanish Inquisition. Okay? Where they were killing kids, Hebrew Israelite kids. They were killing them. They were throwing them up in the air and have the spear catching them coming down. My brothers and my sisters, they were evil. So they hung the infants about the neck and rifled their bones, or their houses rather, and slew them that had circumcised them. Anybody who performed circumcision, they were going to go to death. They were not going to live. Yes, this was what happening to our people. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved, and they confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, they rather to die than that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. My brothers and my sisters, you remember the story with Daniel and his companions, his friends, there in Babylon when Nebuchadnezzar set up image and want him to worship and want him to eat the king's meat and drink the king's drink, and then they decide, no, we're not going to pollute ourselves. This was what was happening right here again. It's about 300 years later, this was happening again. Yes, my brothers and my sisters. And here, the people resolve in themselves. These Hebrew African people resolve in themselves, say, no, we're not going to take any more of this. These were people who decided that they were not going to worship the way they worship. They were not going to eat the way they eat. They were not going to behave the way they want them to behave. Not like the heathen. And these rather go to the death than to change to the way that was abomination to Yahuwah. They weren't going to profane themselves. They were not going to profane the holy covenant They praise Yahuwah for these people who take a stand and they rather die before they profane themselves. And my brothers and sisters, he said here that they were great wrath. They were great wrath upon Israel. There was a very great wrath upon Israel. So my brothers and my sisters, be wise. Be wise, because you do not know. Many of us think it's peace and safety. You don't know what government going to rule in your country. Things change. You can look around and see some of the stuff that they're doing. And guess what? The evil that the people are, some of these leaders are you know, they support wickedness. You would think like, you know, let's say a man is being convicted for some, you know, and you think people will say, yes, he had done evil. A whole bunch of them following behind and accusing others for the evil that this man has done. And they can't see. And a matter of fact, one of them, who was the main leader in this, was saying that some months back, that they don't use the word Yahuwah or Elohim. They say, God called her to be the watchman on the wall. Really? The watchman on the wall. Evil, corrupt people to be the watchman on the wall. My brothers, my sisters, be wise. Be wise. He said, and there was great wrath in Israel. Of course, it was following this time that the Maccabean, the priest, Judas Maccabeus. As you see, by this time now, here he has, his name is turned into Greek. Bios. He started the revolt to free Israel. And of course, after they were freed, then they went back. We're going to continue this story because there's a lot to be told. And here these scriptures were written during those silent years. Yet they said there was no scripture. Yet the Gentiles who's ruling church and ruling the world, they're saying that Yahuwah never called a prophet. And there was no scripture. There was scripture here, but they would not accept it because this scripture is telling exactly what happened. And this is something that they do not want you and I to know. So my brothers and my sisters, we're saying to you, be wise. Be wise, because you never know how things are going to turn out in these days, as we see different people trying to lead us. The heart is not right. They are sick spiritually. They are sick morally. And not only so, but they are sick socially. My brothers, my sisters, be wise and be a blessing to someone today. And walk with the King. Shabbat Shalom.